Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is CoinsKid. Just coming on to XRP once again. Thank you for support. Okay, big of the CoinsKid crew. So looking at the index right now, there is quite a bit of fear in the market. The fear and greed is sitting at 32. We have the micro market zone sitting at roughly 33.98. Now it's only a few weeks ago. For anyone that remembers, I was relaying to you, we had a massive amount of the market which is sitting in the sell zone. The micro signals across the board was red, telling us to sell, and it's part of my confidence of that big crash and correction that I anticipated coming in the charts. Okay, especially for XRP, because it was going from left to right, creating a descending triangle. So I was looking at some kind of price compression lead to expansion and the big drop into the God candle back test and the bottom of the BMS, and we got exactly that, around about 238 I think our bids were. So basically the LD is pumping, and when we see the LD pumping, we see the market dumping, but no structural support, key support has been lost so far on any of these coins, especially for the big dogs, which is your Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, so on the micro signal, if we take a look, we do see some coins in the top 10 that are telling us right now buy warning. So I'm looking at Ethereum, okay, because obviously we want Ethereum to be relatively healthy in this market if we're expecting XRP to be healthy, okay, because obviously it's the king of the altcoins, isn't it? So if we take a look at Ethereum right now, on the micro time frame, we do have this falling channel basically for Ethereum, where we're coming down and we're creating multiple bullish divergence on the MACD. Look at that, high lows under the zero line, and obviously the RSI as well is creating all that bullish divergence down there. And what we've not seen in this drop is any kind of move back up or any kind of retracement. So there are levels in the chart that are screaming retest for me. Okay, so if I drop a trend line in right now for Ethereum, sorry, that's the wrong one. I'm going to drop this neckline in. So I think we've got a God candle back test just there for Ethereum, sitting in wait. So I'll get that as knob on as I can. And then equally, if we move to the left, we've already back tested that one just there. You can clearly see where we broke down for Ethereum. We've back tested that, but there is another one that's higher. Take a look at that. So we've never back tested that. So for me, I think Ethereum could be about to reverse here. Off this, all this bullish divergence, we could see a pump, then a pullback, and then a break into this level of resistance, take it out, because this is where we failed to take it out, and then break to this level here. So this could be quite a significant trade over the weekend, leading into November, which is typically one of the most bullish months in crypto. So from here, you could be looking at a whopping move around about 19% for Ethereum. Now, I won't take this trade on just yet because I'm not a complete degen, but what I'm looking for is a break of this neckline. If Ethereum can break out of this neckline again, take out this channel where it breaks out, I will entertain going long, and I'll just put my stop on the pivot low. So stay tuned for the Discord for that, because I think we've got a nice trade in front of us, and obviously I want to really tighten up my stop loss to, for this trade to play out with a minimal risk trade, because at the moment you could be looking at some kind of cup and handle pattern for Ethereum that's trending back like that. Oh no, it's going to zero, it's going to collapse, and breaks out back test, boom, and it's on that God candle back test sometime in November, which would be absolutely amazing. Off all this bullish divergence. So again, this is just pure data trading, not emotion. I don't like to rely on emotion in this market, because at the moment, obviously, the emotion of the market is really depressing, isn't it? So I always kind of look at that as a counter trade, basically. So at the moment, Ethereum, it's basically got this foot in its head. People are really depressed again, but we are seeing a buy warning in the data. We've got multiple bullish divergence building on the micro. So I think there's a trade there. So stay tuned in the Discord for that trade. So I know it's an XRP video. I do apologise. Let's dive into XRP charts, do what we can see. But if we can see the LD print minus today, where basically it's like that, it's red and a minus, then I think we've got a clue to a pump over the weekend pushing into November, because typically November is one of the most bullish months in crypto. I'll show you looking at the insights right now. Okay, so looking at the data point on CoinsKid.com, the monthly returns for Bitcoin, seasonality suggests that we should see some kind of move or pump in November. It is typically one of the most bullish months for Bitcoin, but if it's not, then obviously something's broken in this cycle, which could be good news in the long term, because it could indicate, okay, this year has been actually a pretty bearish year for Bitcoin and bearish year for crypto, which could lead to 2026 being quite fruitful. It would indicate your cycles are actually broken. So we keep an eye on this, and this is something I relayed to you in recent times. If by the end of the year we see this negative and we see that this year's returned a red year, then your cycles are broken. We're in a new paradigm. Something's shifted. We're no longer in this 4-year cycle, basically, where you go through 3 years or 1 year down, okay, and something's changed, which could indicate, okay, if we take a look at the XRP chart right now, something has changed, and it's changed since late last year, and I'll show you exactly what it is. But if we rely on the data point of what we've seen last year, where November, and again, if we go back to the videos this time last year, I was showing you exactly the same scenario. Seasonality is suggesting that XRP is about to break out. If we are relying on that, then we've got a massive move here for XRP against all expectations in November and December, where we finish this cycle off. So let me show you the XRP chart right now to show you exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So looking at XRP on the daily time frame, this is pretty much the same time last year, and I remember how much pessimism and negativity there were in the markets, and basically, we saw this pump into July, and then basically we went sideways. If you look at the seasonality, we are doing something quite similar. Basically from this low, we pumped into July, we're going sideways, doesn't feel like it's going to do much. We saw that huge capitulation week right there, and then we're working on some kind of structural bottom, so we did exactly the same, pumped into July, went sideways, we've got all this nasty blood fear and depression, but we was holding structural high lows basically, and then we came up into resistance, retraced as we head into November, then the big seasonality kicked in, and we're doing something quite similar. So this is why I'm holding on for dear life, because again, I'm just relaying the data to you. Now the structure obviously is paramount, an absolute boss, but there is a chance that this plays out again, because we are doing something we've done before. You've bottomed here, you bottomed here, you pump into July, you pump into July, okay, then you go sideways, you break down, oh no, it's going to zero, you go sideways, you break down, oh no, it's going to zero. We've got the anomaly of this nasty sort of wick that we put in, which has put the EBGBs into everyone thinking we're in some kind of bear market. But structurally, if we look at it, ignoring that wick, which is probably something I shouldn't do, then we've done exactly what I thought we would do. You've got this breakout just here, you've got this breakout, you fall back into the God candle back test, you fall back into the God candle back test, you come up, make a higher low, and you're looking to break bull. You come up, make the high low towards the end of the correction, and then you break bull. So one of the key things we looked at last year was the seasonality with yourselves, and I remember the pessimism as this was coming up and pulling back. I said to you, I'm just looking for one key thing, and it's the same thing I'm looking for right now to entertain the long. So currently all I've got in XRP is my spot positions. I've not sold anything because, like I've taught you over the years, I bought this blood fear and depression there, bought the blood fear and depression there, because I see 5 waves down, I buy. Okay, and this is what I've been buying. I've been buying the blood fear and depression of 5-wave counter, just there and just there. I accumulated a lot of XRP. So one of the key data points that made me jump into a long just there was really simple, and it's the same thing I'm waiting for patiently right now. So I'm not going to entertain the long just yet on XRP, because it's the same data point that I'm waiting for. So you come up into resistance, you made a higher low. This was your key low. Then you broke bull, you broke up, and you closed above that leg just there. Okay, so that was it. That closed just there. I jumped into a long, I put my stop loss there, and I relayed that to you, and then boom, seasonality kicked in and we went vertical. And this was basically the first week of November. So there is a chance we could do it again. Okay, if we're looking at a rinse repeat on Crypto Street, we rallied into July, we went sideways, bottomed, and then broke bull in November. If you take a look at this, we rallied into July, we've gone sideways, we broke down, we're looking to make a higher low on this pivot low just there and hold the BMS, and then if we start to turn around and take out the resistance of the descending triangle and this previous pivot high, this is where I'll entertain a long and stop loss pivot low, and then hopefully ride it out in a seasonality pump basically. But that is what I'm looking at. Okay, and obviously if it breaks down and it doesn't play out, it's unfortunate, it is what it is. I'm just respecting the charts, and I want to exit my spot position at that particular point, because if we don't get the seasonality kicking in, then I think what we've got in front of us is basically filling the wick for the rest of the year, basically, where you come down, you come up, you come down, but we should be looking to fill that wick, which is obviously something I can't tell you we're 100% going to do, because at the moment what we've seen is just came up, came down, no, it's going to zero, broke bull in seasonality, came up, come down, broke bull in a potential seasonality move. For XRP. So I wish I had a nice look, but I'm looking for more structural data. If we break down below this pivot low, if we start to turn the BMS into resistance, okay, I'll exit, I'll jump, and then we're looking to fill this wick. And we could be looking at a big pullback into later in the year, and obviously start of the year, which would break the cycles, because then you'll be looking at Bitcoin Insights, where this year has basically been one big sideways correction and consolidation, not just for Bitcoin but for obviously XRP as well, and the cycles are broken. So it could indicate, okay, we've seen a massive crash and correction since late last year in the crypto markets, and one of the confluencing factors could simply be other altcoin charts, the likes of for example, Chainlink right now. So if you look at Chainlink from that point in December, it's come down, it's come up, and it's dropping. So it could be a case that, the fact is the proof in the pudding, where XRP's come up and Bitcoin have made all-time highs, and Ethereum, well, Chainlink is showing you the true value of the market. You've got some kind of big macro ABC zigzag correction that's looking to hold support. You've been in a massive correction since December of last year. You bottom potentially in December this year, and then boom, you break bull in 2026 against all the odds and expectations, which is exactly when people think you've got some kind of bear market. So we're looking at that insights. Keep an eye on the insights on CoinsKid.com. By the end of the year, if we see it print red, then I think what we've been in is some kind of macro correction for XRP since December of last year, and none of this has been impulsive, which is good news because we've got a final fifth wave missing in this cycle for XRP. But obviously I can't guarantee what's going to happen. I'm looking at a potential seasonality play here where we're coming up, we're tracing. If we can hold this high-low structure, not necessarily trade under the BMS, which is currently 22790, then I think we've got a seasonality play, and I'm going to give it its chance, okay? But stay tuned for the long ops. I'll post them in the Discord. And that's basically it. There's two scenarios I'm looking at. We've either been in a macro correction since there where XRP's come out, made bull traps just there and bull traps just there, and it's actually been a macro correction since there, which would tell me, okay, this move to the downside is the end of the correction, not necessarily the beginning, because this is not an impulsive move, it's part of the correction. Stay tuned for the trades in the Discord. Take care everyone, back from an update on XRP. Bye bye.